Hello, and welcome to the Bi-Weekly Show. We've got a wonderful show for you today, and it's such a great show that we're going to start with something so obviously patriotic, it's named after patriotism. That's right, it's the USA Patriot Act of 2001, also known as the act that got passed because the dissenters were promptly awarded luxury vacations to Guantanamo. The point of the story is that Section 215 of the Patriot Act is set to expire in June, which means that there's a slight possibility that Republicans will finally decide that giving the NSA the authority to look at anything they feel like in the name of national security is a bad idea. Although, I am sure that the law's greatest supporter, Mitch McConnell, would agree that the Snapchat you sent at 3 a.m., you know which one I'm talking about, was absolutely vital to stop a terror plot. But let's talk about the section that isn't going to expire. Section 214, or the pen trap statute, as it's known, allows the government to see that something like a phone call or an email was made and that another person was contacted and for however long, which doesn't sound so bad until you realize that the government can still collect huge amounts of data and all of this collection is not impacted at all by the end of Section 215. Personally, I find it completely mind-blowing that anyone would ever support continuing the Patriot Act. I mean, maybe after 9/11, it had some merit because we were all freaked out, but in 2015, I don't think it has a place in this country. But moving past that, Ron Paul, wait, no, it's the other one. Rand Paul, there we go, announced his bid for the Republican presidential nomination recently. This adds his name to the race along with other outstanding individuals such as Ted Cruz. As part of his announcement speech, Rand Paul had this to say about governmental intrusion.
A return to a government restrained by the Constitution. A return to privacy, opportunity, liberty.
However, apparently that does not include NSA surveillance because he voted against the Freedom Act that took an aim at ending the Patriot Act. Rand Paul continued his announcement speech to say this.
Big government and debt doubled under a Republican administration. And it's now tripling under Barack Obama's watch.
So, this statement is true from a certain point of view. He's clearly manipulating data to mislead the crowd into believing that Obama has done worse than he actually has. You see, according to PolitiFact, his office stated that what Rand Paul meant to say was that under Bush, debt doubled. And since that same starting point to the current day under Obama, it has now tripled overall. So, I bet you assume that there's maybe a little bit of rounding up. But let's look at the numbers that Rand Paul uses. So he uses the 5.73 trillion debt when Bush started, and then the 10.63 trillion Bush ended his term with, in addition to the 8.15 trillion it reached in April of 2015. So looking over all that, yes, it technically tripled. So many of these people who were in that audience and heard his speech took his words at face value. But if you had ever agreed with him, then just like those individuals, you've been screwed over by Rand Paul, who has given you the completely wrong impression. Right, so time for a new segment, Who's on First? First up on Who's on First, the Florida House of Representatives has recently passed House Bill 7111, which makes the state the first to allow protections for adoption agencies when they deny applicants that violate their religious or moral convictions, meaning that in the state of Florida, you can be denied an application to adopt a child if you are a single parent, if you are gay, or if your religion just isn't what the company finds allowable. And you aren't allowed to complain about it. So Next up on Who's on First, Hillary Clinton is the first Democrat to announce their bid for the 2016 election. She is, or has, announced on Sunday in April, or early April. And next up, we have Oklahoma, which has recently announced that they will start using gas chambers, or nitrogen gas chambers, in the event that the Europeans deny them the chemicals used for lethal injection. As a side note, Oklahoma also includes death, or an option of deaths by electrocution, which is nice to see that you can still get a choice in the state, even if it's between choking to death and living out that one scene from The Green Mile. Finally, on Who's on First, it's actually a second, which means we will be going back to the title of this portion of this show. Welcome back. Wisconsin has joined Florida in denying climate change the same way that you deny the existence of Fight Club. Rule number 1 of climate change, don't talk about climate change. They've decided to use that the use of global warming and climate change is not to be used in official communications. And just like the mighty emu, perhaps if we pound our faces into the dirt, all of our problems will go away. Which is why I am proposing that we ban the use of the words Republican, NRA, the phrase Fox News, nuclear, death panel, big government, and let's go with socialist, because I don't think anybody really knows what that is by definition. In any case, folks, it's been a good semester of 4 episodes. But we at the Biweekly Show must announce that this is the final episode for this short season. The next recording session just so happens to land on my birthday, and, well, no. We'll see you next school year for some more slightly out-of-date news. We're going to pretend to be serious again.
No.
Didn't think so.
Serious. Gotta get up and take a journey.
Go to your corner.
Make me. Oh crap, I shouldn't say that. I have to go to my corner. Because I forget that you can pick me up and move me to my corner.
I can't
I'm not
physically pick you
I'm
up.
not good at standing my ground like that. It just doesn't work.